This is the Invincible podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're back for season 4 of Invincible, and we're talking about episode 1, Making the World a Better Place.
You will raise this machine's output to its maximum capacity now.
I told you, it doesn't work like that.
Make it work like that. You have so much power. I could sense your world light years away.
No, you don't understand. This plant powers half the coast.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Welcome back, fellow Guardians, to the Invincible podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We are talking about Invincible Season 4, Episode 1, Making the World a Better Place. I am one of your hosts, Derek. And in a bit of a change-up to what's been advertised, we have a second co-host who is...
Invincible.
Well, kind of invincible, yes.
It's John. Hello there, fellow Guardians. Good to burst my invincible cherry on the podcast here. Yes, Chris couldn't join for our first outing due to work commitments. So, yes, I'm here to take his place. I do follow along enthusiastically, watching the show and, of course, listening to my fellow hosts.
Yes.
So, good to be on for this first episode of Invincible Season 4, Making the World a Better Place.
Yeah, it was a little last minute that Chris couldn't join us, so I'm really thankful that you watched all 3 episodes with me last night, so you do know what's going on, and you have watched all the seasons. You are a big fan of Invincible as well, but it just means our expert of Invincible, Chris, can't be here for this one, so he will be back for the next 2 episodes. He promised me he'll be back for the other 2 episodes.
Absolutely. Expect a few dumb questions from myself, especially because I haven't really read the comics, whilst I've loved the animation and the show. Plus, there's so many different characters that I'm like going, okay.
Yeah, there certainly is. But you see, that's the weird part about this, because I ask the dumb questions and Chris usually answers them. So now we'll just ask dumb questions to each other, and hopefully our wonderful fellow Guardians will answer in this case. Because, we're jumping straight back into season 4 of the show. It's taking place directly after season 3, in the aftermath of what happened at the end of the last season. And what I love about this show is the amount of characters. We have a sheet here which tells us all the actors that have played a role in each of the seasons into the episode so far, and it's about 2 pages long of all of the wonderful actors, and loads more being added this season as well. So great for that. Great to have you with us, John. Thank you very much for joining us. I think you have actually done an Invincible episode at one point.
Yes.
Over the last 3 seasons. We have been recording about Invincible for 5 years. So I'm sure you have popped on for an episode or 2. So delightful to have you back on here as well.
Popping back on again. But of course, fellow Guardians, before we get into our spoiler-filled discussion of this first episode of Season 4, remember, you can head on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to any Invincible or Vulnerable podcast player of your choice. And of course, we love to get your thoughts, theories, comments, observations around anything to do with the show. So please send in your emails, at least to feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com, as well as to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries, and of course over on our Discord as well.
Yes, you can find the details of our Discord in the show notes here. We have a spoiler post up for each episode of Invincible as it comes out, so you can share your thoughts about the episodes as you watch them as well. We'll chat all about your thoughts on here.
Excellent. Yummy, in fact. Right. Derek, who gave us what, where, when, and how with the episode details of Making the World a Better Place for you and for me and the entire human race.
See, that's because Chris isn't here. You have to sing. I forgot that.
But that's what keeps It keeps taking me back to Michael Jackson.
It does, yes, definitely. I think it's probably a reference as well. Well, the show is, of course, based on the comic series written by Robert Kirkman and illustrated by Cory Walker and Ryan Ottley. The show was developed by Robert Kirkman and Simon Riccioppa for Prime Video. The show is produced by Robert Kirkman, David Alpert, Catherine Winder, Simon Riccioppa, Margaret M. Dean, Seth Rogen, and Evan Goldberg. This episode was written by Helen Leigh. This is the 4th episode of her run on Invincible. She also wrote the Atom Eve movie and is a writer on the upcoming Invincible Versus game, which is coming out in a couple of weeks' time. That's the big beat 'em up. We get to play any character fighting against the other characters in like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat kind of style, if you're into those type of games. So that's coming up in about 4 or 5 weeks' time.
Yeah, sounds good.
Should be fun.
Conquest in the Nud.
It could be. It could be. The director of this episode is Saul Choi. This is his 5th episode of Invincible, and he previously worked on Star Trek Lower Decks and on Mighty Nine.
Lovely stuff.
You've been watching Mighty Nine recently,
certainly
John,
have.
haven't you?
Yeah. I absolutely recommend Mighty Nine. For anyone who likes Dungeons and Dragons, this is another animated series from Critical Role, who did Legends of Vox Machina.
That's it.
Which was great as well. Really good. Almost reminds me of the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. I think that's the spirit in which it's delivered.
Definitely.
And really good.
The only thing on that show is they're not trying to get back to Earth. They are from that world.
Yes, exactly.
The only difference.
But I do really like Mighty Nine, and have finished that now. So I would recommend anyone to go check it out. Maybe finished a little abruptly. I was expecting one more episode, but I guess they're just leading in for a season 2.
It is coming back for season 2.
That will be really, really good. Yeah. And it is different from Vox Machina, but it's got the same sharp wit, which is great.
Yes.
So definitely check that out if you're into that kind of fantasy Dungeons and Dragon world.
And also most of the same voice cast.
Yes, exactly.
That's in Vox Machina. The members of Critical Role, of course. But that's Saul Choi. That's where he comes from. And again, this is his 5th episode of Invincible. And John, since it's your first episode of Invincible Season 4, Episode 1, I've written out all the names and we have a synopsis for this episode. Would you like to read the synopsis for Invincible 401, Making the World a Better Place?
Sure. Mark, Oliver, and Eve continue stopping threats while dealing with the physical and mental aftermath of Angstrom and Conquest. Cecil appoints Brit as a leader of the Guardians of the Globe and merges the teen team back under his leadership, causing great irritation in the newly renamed teen team leader Rex. Mark meets Dinosaurus, a powerful being he nearly kills despite learning the creature's human host lacks control in his transformed state. Tensions rise during a difficult dinner with Eve and her parents as Mark learns Eve's father blames him for the loss of his career during the destruction of Chicago. Her mother guides Eve to not set the bar too high for her relationship. Meanwhile, the Sequids prepare another invasion, and Universa arrives on Earth, draining energy from a power plant to save her people. Eve struggles as her powers become unstable during the fight, but Universa is eventually defeated with a right hook. The Guardians confront the Sequid threat with Mark's help. They save all infected civilians using new technology, though Mark kills Russ Livingstone, the final host, to end the danger. Elsewhere, Conquest awakens in captivity, but easily breaks free and leaves Earth.
He's alive, John. Conquest is alive.
He certainly is. Little Cecil, up to his little games, and certainly because Mark doesn't know about Conquest still being alive.
I know. It just gets more and more ridiculous, the lengths that Cecil will go to do things that will piss off Mark in the future, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We'll talk all about it as we go through the points, of course. If you've been with us before for our Invincible podcast, you'll know this, of course, but if this is your first time, we talk about our top moments from the episode and the post-credit scene in separate points. So let's start off with point number 1, which is Mark's family in recovery. So after last season and everything that happened with Angstrom leaving, what he was doing with the family in the previous season as well, and with the big battle between Mark and Conquest. At the beginning of this episode, we see the whole family are all kind of struggling to deal with their new roles in the world. Mark is still going out patrolling. Himself and Eve have set up the phone line, Invincible Inc., including the two of them, plus now young Oliver, who's grown up once again, all having to go out on call all the time to take on all the threats that are rising around the world, effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of like this kind of PTSD Mark. And in fact, I had to kind of go back and think, did he lose an arm and a leg? I can't remember that because of the kind of metal casing around some of his limbs. And I suddenly was like, even with the, previously on, I was like, well, they didn't show that.
Yeah.
But obviously with his battle with Dinosaurus, you see that they're just kind of almost just protection, even more armored than just his normal skin, I guess.
Yeah, and even with that, I just wasn't sure because, the character is invincible, right? So maybe he needed those casings to help heal and, things grow back on Mark potentially,
Yeah.
Every single member of the Viltrumite race has been beaten to a pulp and come back alive, So when you do see him first, especially because the limbs look very like robot in the show, you think limbs have been replaced, but it
looks really kind of striking.
Exactly. But I do love in that battle with Dinosaurus as he bites into what you think is a robot arm and it breaks off, and it's Mark going, well, actually, now I'm even more powerful than I thought I was. So, it's great.
No, so that was kind of quite good. And I like the fact that this kind of whole battle with Dinosaurus is really where Mark is struggling he's got to go from battle to battle to battle, sort of mopping up all these super powered humans and individuals that have come out of the woodwork post this kind of real, almost apocalyptic sort of battle previously with all the different Invincibles that Angstrom had done, and obviously with Conquest's arrival. So I like the fact that he struggles around whether he should just, in a sense, kill Dinosaurus once he's gone to human form, so that the threat no longer comes back. And I think, it is one of those things. Like, it's almost, well, I've dealt with you before, now you're coming back again. We need to kind of put you to bed once and for all. And so he kind of struggles with that. You see him, even though the guy is pleading with him that, he goes off to sleep and is infected through his dreams.
Yeah.
So he's got no control over when he will get transformed into Dinosaurus.
Exactly. And interestingly, Dinosaurus has a theory similar to Thanos from the MCU, which is the idea that the death of all of the people that's been happening because of all these attacks, that's actually a benefit to the human race. You kill off more people, the food will spread wider around the world. That's Dinosaurus's idea here, but I love that that's something that we know from Marvel with Thanos, that was why he did the snap, because you can spread resources much wider. So again, Mark calls him out, going, he's a guy with crazy ideas about how to save the world, and then he turns back into a human. Basically, Mark punches the dinosaur off the human that's inside him, and this poor guy is being strangled to death by Mark, because Mark is unwilling to allow anybody to live now at this stage. As we've seen the progress of this character throughout the last few seasons, in season 1, Mark couldn't possibly believe that his father Nolan could kill any human being at all. But he was willing to destroy an entire city. Mark's now done that twice, I think. He's destroys entire cities in his pursuit of who he's seeing as the villain. And last season he made the decision, if anybody puts his family at risk, he will kill them as well. So here he's just going to kill Dinosaurus and then thinks better of it when the rest of the Guardians come along.
Well, that's it. It's like, it's PTSD, but it's the experience of him with his father. It's the fact that actually when you see the previously on, you realize how many people got killed in that attack from the Guardians of the Globe. And you see that Eve also on her deathbed, as well as Mark being pummeled into almost non-existence by Conquest. So the stakes are way higher, and you see why he's battling. It makes sense that he would and should be battling. How do I stop threats if in some cases they're just going to keep coming back and back and back?
Yeah. And also the reaction of everybody that he saved as well. You have the Guardians working alongside him. They don't seem particularly pleased to see Mark and to see Eve after everything that happened with Conquest, I guess. The humans that are around that are restoring the buildings, and then he gets into fights in the same location where they've been building buildings back up for months and destroys them again, that seems to be a recurring thing for them. And, Mark's not going to be able to pay for the rebuilding, so people are getting more and more angry at these fights that are going on. I really hate Eve's dad. I really don't like the character, but sometimes he is the voice of the other humans out there. Sometimes he says things like, your friends got into a fight and my daughter got hurt. So he may not be the only person in the world that thinks that Mark's just play acting with other people similar to himself and the world is their playground and they're destroying the place as they go, so that's really bad. And then the other kind of echoing of what's going on, Mark's very quiet here, he's just going about his duty, and the other echoing of that is his little brother Oliver, who last season was a kid with the new powers, running around, wanted to get into every fight, and now he just wants to sit down and play his video game for 5 minutes without being dragged out to go into a battle. And that must be how Mark's been feeling all the time. He's the only person they keep calling on for every single thing. We saw him having to miss dates with Eve all last season, and he's felt like this for ages. He thought he had Oliver beside him. He gets into a big fight with Oliver because Oliver doesn't want to go out anymore. He's just sick of it. He just wants to go to bed, have a bit of a rest, and then maybe get up the next day and go into the fight.
He's a teenager, and he's just like, he's been asked to grow up really quickly.
Exactly.
So definitely. Yeah. So I like this. I like this, how, we get to see Mark and his family and his with his girlfriend Eve, just sort of trying to figure it all out still after such a big sort of traumatic milestone that happened at the end.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well that his mum seems to have found like her next best friend in a sense.
Good old Paul.
And good old Paul, and they're just finding out about one another again. So that's kind of almost a little bit of a reflection to what like Mark and Oliver and Eve are having to deal with the same heavy burden.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's become a lot lighter for his mother because of Paul.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really good. Speaking of the other major humans in the show, I just want to talk a little bit about the dinner with Eve's parents, because those are awkward at the best of times. The first time you sit down for a meal with the in-laws or the parents of your partner. But as I say, her dad is horrible anyway, and he instantly starts in at Mark. I thought it was quite interesting that he was able to trace back a hatred for Mark very specifically to the fact that the headquarters of his business was in Chicago, which was destroyed in that battle from Mark and his friends, as the dad says. So he believes that Mark is kind of responsible for the fact that he no longer has a job, that he lost his career because of Mark, effectively. So I do get the feeling with Eve's dad that no matter what, even if he wasn't involved in that business, he would have found some way to blame it on Mark, or find something that Mark was responsible for in his life that he would hate Mark for. That's kind of the thing. He declares that it's just purely because he's protective of his daughter. But while they're having this conversation, just another very interesting conversation going on indoors with Eve and her mom, where her mom is kind of saying to her, I liked your dad when we got together first as well. Don't set your bar too high for your relationship, because people change over time. Look what I ended up with, kind of, but not,
It was almost like, it's not going to be physical for all your life, because you're going to get old and withery.
Exactly.
Things are going to start to droop or not work.
Yeah. But I do feel like she was trying to blame it more on the dad without saying it. She was kind of saying, look what I ended up with. And I started out, and it seemed to be okay when we started. Basically.
It was code, absolutely.
It was.
And it was a good, tense dinner. And I mean, in the end, like, Eve and Mark just kind of want to get out of there. But I think you're right. I think it's that Eve's dad is supposed to be unlikable when everything's all happy. But this show takes you on a journey where, even despite having all these powers, certainly these physical powers, you're still having to deal with the same old stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's domestically or fighting other superpowered people.
Exactly.
And actually, her father then becomes the voice of the normal person, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
And then you have layered on top of that the fact that, the father and mother really, in a sense, have outlived one another, but they're staying together through, in a sense, of safety.
Well, yes, yeah.
Or just, it's companionship now rather than anything to do with love or, attraction.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's that. With his mom, it sounds like his mom's just going, well, I signed up for this.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
And he kind of like almost clicks his fingers and says, it's our time for our show now, into the main room. It's kind of like what I did last night when we were watching the first couple of episodes of Invincible. John, sit down here. We have to watch 3 episodes of Invincible.
I mean, she's tired. She should, by right, leave him. But in a sense, there's also something keeping her there, whether that's fear, monetary, whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
But I think with that, on to point number 2, because the Sequids return. Maybe her mom would be better as a Sequid controlled individual.
Maybe.
I love the Sequids.
Awful.
I think this is real science fiction. It really is that thing of from outer space. It is the tale of the body snatchers.
Very similar,
all that kind of stuff. So I really like how all of a sudden, I mean, not out of nowhere, clearly.
Out of the sewers.
Out of the sewers. You suddenly get this huge, big, epic event happening in the middle of the episode, which I wasn't expecting. I mean, at one point I was like going, have we gone on to the second episode here?
I know.
And you realize again how these are an hour long, roughly. But this was great. I love that you had all the Sequids returning.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a really interesting interview in between the 2 seasons, season 3 and season 4, with the showrunner Sam Riccioppa, who kind of said, when they originally pitched the show, they pitched it as an hour long. He'd always done half-hour cartoons and went, it's just 2 half hours stuck together, isn't it? And then realized, no, you have to have a full arc for an episode, and it has a very different structure to it. It's not just about having 2 episodes stuck together, like that way you would think. It is about writing a story that has 3 full arcs in it effectively, and has that structure very differently. So that's quite cool. But the Sequids, we saw them coming from Mars, piggybacking on the back of Russ Livingston, the former astronaut who went up to Mars. They came to Earth, they arrived on Earth, and they've been building their plans against us, effectively, underneath the, War of the Worlds, absolutely.
Exactly.
And they've been down in the sewers, doing this. I think I love the kind of intro to this. Again, you've got 2 very normal guys, trying to work out why the sewers are all plugged up, thinking it's rats, and then go, oh, hang on a second, those pipes can't possibly be clogged by rats, and I haven't seen a rat for ages. And then, this explosion of, Sequids, coming out of the sewers and coming onto the streets. And it takes everybody to combine together. We have to bring Mark back in. We have to bring in all of the team and the Guardians of the Globe all together working on this.
Well, it's a swarm of Sequids, isn't it? I mean, when the manhole started blowing and it was just like pink Sequid, sort of almost like a liquid flowing out of them, I thought, how on earth are they going to contain this? But they do have new tech, so they've got this force field that can contain them. And also then all of the Guardians have got a kind of a sonic wristband that allows them to disable the Sequid that has connected itself to the human, and then they shoot a dart to teleport the human away out of danger, and again, danger from reinfection, I guess, from the Sequid. I like this kind of little battle, War of the Worlds going on between the humans and the Sequids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like the fact that you have, Robot and Rudy sort of going back down into the sewers to investigate, because, what's going on, where are all these coming from? And you kind of have the leader of the Guardians, Brit, saying, no, don't, follow my orders, just keep attacking the Sequids. It is in a sense almost as though, Russ is trying to just distract them, really, as he's preparing them, the Sequids, this consciousness to attack the dome that's keeping them hemmed in. But Rex going down finding more humans, getting them safe, and just, very, almost getting caught himself with a Sequid. Manages to shoot himself, which was great with the dart to teleport him to safety.
Yeah.
I just thought this whole thing was superb, and I like how it played in as well with Mark's kind of, how do we actually defeat these? Because here they come again.
Yeah.
And here come the Sequids again.
And like, if you remember them on Mars, everybody was stuck with the Sequids around them. They were being taken over, and effectively they were fighting the other powered members of the Guardians of the Globe, were fighting each other as they got taken over by Sequids. So this plan that's here with Brit and their new abilities and the new things that they're able to use to take out the Sequids, this is a very meticulous plan that he believes everybody has to follow, given how bad it all turned out last time, right?
Yeah.
So they're here and they have the access to the correct technology. They should be able to take out the Sequids as long as they get there in time before they break down the barrier. And then it's down to Mark, and he has to make a split-second decision, and his decision is that he's going to kill Russ Livingston, the kind of center point of all of the Sequids.
Yeah, but I mean, I like, though, how that is kind of... He's trying not to. Mm-hmm. It's a timing thing, because you have Bulletproof trying to get the sonic wristband so that effectively they take out Russ Livingston by detaching the Sequid. And because he was the first one to be reinfected, that's kind of like the mother in a sense. And
yeah,
the shield is gradually, the integrity of the shield is gradually ticking down. Bulletproof is racing to get this sonic device to Mark. Mark is holding Russ, waiting, and in the end, decides to put his fist through his face, and ultimately all the Sequids, are neutralized.
Yeah.
But it then plays into it's the opposite of what it happens with Dinosaurus. But with Dinosaurus, he does manage to get pulled back from that by the arrival of the Guardians.
Exactly.
Here, they see him punch through Russ Livingston's face, neutralizing the threat. And I think what's really good here is this is an event that's happened. Mark has killed someone.
Yeah.
Yes, he didn't immediately do it. He did wait for Bulletproof, but in making the judgment, well, have we got enough time? He took the decision executively to smash his head in.
Yeah.
And stop the threat. And he does do.
Yeah.
So I guess this is going to be a moment, at least in the series to some degree, because it counters, as I say, with the Dinosaurus.
It does. And remember, the last time he's done this, in Mark's mind, he's killed Angstrom Levy, and he's also killed Conquest as well. So all massive choices of Mark that he's made to take out major people that were destroying the planet. In the first case, Dinosaurus, who maybe destroyed a few buildings, Mark was about to kill him and then stopped himself. And here he kills effectively someone whose mind has been taken over by the Sequids, another human. Given that there's so many other humans that have been saved by the actions of the Guardians of the Globe, him choosing to kill Russ Livingston is quite a big choice for him to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's making them more regularly now. Is kind of the big thing. He's making these choices to let someone live or die as a decision to prevent future crimes, which is always where these questions come from in comic books, right? The idea that Batman has a code that he won't kill anybody, Superman won't kill anybody, but when they do, what went through their mind when that person died, right? So here's Mark making these decisions almost daily now at this stage. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool
Really great moment with this kind of mega battle of the Sequids.
Yeah. And let's get on to our point number 3, an introduction of a brand new character for the show. We have Eterna, who's coming in to drain power. the big reason why this stands out to me is because it's another member of the Walking Dead cast.
Certainly is.
From the same pen that wrote the Walking Dead comic books, Robert Kirkman. He brings aboard Denai Guerrera, who played Michonne on Walking Dead and Okoye in Black Panther, of course. One of the favourite characters on both of those properties, really. Love her as Michonne on The Walking Dead. And here she is playing Eterna, an alien who is basically looking for energy to save her home planet. You'll hear from the quote in the beginning, my favorite line from her, which is basically that she's, there's so much energy being broadcast out of Earth. She can see it from solar systems away. She can identify Earth's there, just beaming out all of this power, and her home planet needs power to save it. So she's been attracted to Earth like a beacon, and she's going to take all of the power from Earth to bring it back home. So Mark and Eve have to go and stop her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess here I don't really know the character of Eterna, but I do like the fact that, I think firstly that, we see Eve's powers fail, which must be possibly something to do with, the resurrection almost of her from the last season. I don't know. Yeah. But equally, what I really like here is Mark does manage to disarm her with her staff, but only she can hold it, so is taken out and is about to kind of point and shoot the staff at Mark. And despite Eve's powers failing, a good right hook. And I like the omnipotence of Eterna here, just effectively then being knocked out by Eve, who comes to Mark's rescue. So yeah, I thought this was a nice little segment actually, and it'd be interesting to see how or what happens with Eterna.
Yes, and her staff of leadership is the name of the staff.
The staff of leadership.
So part of the reason why we always call out these kind of points on Invincible is because nothing's in episodes for no reason. Eterna is a named character who was on a cover of an issue, and not just because of this battle. I'm presuming, again, I haven't read beyond any of these episodes, but when you have a character appearing telling you some kind of backstory. In this case, the character is telling you that her home planet is dying, and if she doesn't get the energy from Earth, something will happen. I presume that is enough of a reason for another antagonist in the future. I guess would be the right word. And since the staff of leadership is what she was carrying as well, I wonder what will happen to that in the future. So part of it is the story and what happens with Eve. She's losing her powers. Yeah. They're failing on her. Eve has been such a strong character. She obviously was the one that was able to save Mark from Conquest as well at the end of last season. So her immense power that she was able to gather together to herself at the end of last season, and now her powers are failing. That's the big story that we're supposed to gain from this, but also keep an eye on the character of Eterna, played by Denai Guerrera.
It's an introduction.
You're going, she's probably going to be back, and she's probably going to be pretty angry.
It's an introduction to Eterna, an introduction to Eve's failing power set.
Yes, and once again, Earth being a beacon out into the galaxy, drawing in more and more of these antagonists towards it. Always interesting to see what happens with those in the future, because you never know in this show at all, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The last one that we talk about is just the post-credit scene. A little bit of a shocker. We knew ourselves that Conquest was underground. He'd been plonked there by Cecil towards the end of last season after the big battle, so he knew he was there. Absolutely did not expect him to awaken this episode. We see him opening an eye, and then he just breaks out of the what you think is, a planet-sized weight on top of him. He breaks out of it, no problem at all. Naked over Earth, going, "Kid should have killed me, really, shouldn't he?"
Well, that's
stupid. Off he goes. What's going to happen with Conquest? He was a massive battle for Mark. Mark was in hospital for months recovering, trying to recover from the injuries that were inflicted on him by Conquest. So the question that came to me, and this is what I was going to ask Chris if he was here, was, could Mark have killed Conquest?
Yes.
I don't know whether he had the ability to kill Conquest. With himself and Eve combined, they were able to take him out, and Mark probably thought he killed Conquest, but could he have?
I mean, he was pretty taken out from what I remember.
Yeah.
And I think, he could have, absolutely. He may not have done sorry, I should rephrase that. I think Conquest absolutely could have been killed. And I think maybe it was to Cecil, given Conquest was absolutely unconscious out of it, to effectively take off his head.
Right. Yeah.
And why, in all God's name, he kept him alive and thought he could contain him, unless he had some sun level of energy to contain him, I don't know.
Well, the thing with Cecil thinks he's always thinking 5 steps ahead, right? So his problem is, what if Nolan comes back, or Mark turns into a new Nolan? Could they control Conquest and have Conquest fight against? So he's found a weapon that's stronger than the worst possible scenario that he's seeing could happen. So could he be able to turn Conquest on, or could he extract the power that's within Conquest for other weapons that could take it? That's the kind of stuff that goes through Cecil's head.
I guess the interesting thing here is we don't know what level of extraction, experimentation may have been done by Cecil's horde of laboratory technicians.
Yes.
To Conquest.
Yeah.
But again, I guess there would have to be a lab around him where they could, put syringes into his bloodstream
skin.
and all this kind of stuff or whatever. Yeah. So personally, I think huge mistake.
Big time.
I think Mark, now, maybe then he couldn't have killed him. Maybe he would have done because of what happened to Eve. So I think, yes, Mark probably had it in him to kill him, but was also so taken out by him, he didn't have the strength to, and it should have fallen to Cecil, to be honest.
Yeah, he should have done it, but he was never going to.
No. But it's also interesting he just left as well,
Mm-hmm.
In the same way as he entered the world, he left Earth, or the orbit of Earth.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he did. And I'm very glad they didn't do I'm going to say a Homelander moment for those of you who watch The Boys, with a naked Conquest standing over Earth. So I'm glad he just left the orbit, saying that Mark was very stupid for letting him live. That's it. That's our main points from the episode. I only really have one note just to mention, just because I thought it was interesting. There's a moment where Oliver goes back to Art, who makes all of the costumes for all the heroes, and he gets a new costume because Oliver's grown quite a lot since the last season. He was, as I said, a young kid last time. He's now grown into looking like a teenager. At this stage, he's probably only about 8 or 9 months old, but he is in the size of a teenager. So he's got a new costume, and Debbie's the one that brings him with him. And they kind of have a discussion about the fact that he has the same symbol that Omni-Man used to wear on his chest. Oliver now saying that he is taking ownership of that symbol. That symbol is now him as Kid Omni-Man. He's not, it's no longer associated with Nolan in the past. It's associated with him now. So that's why he wants to keep it. So I thought that was kind of cool. And Debbie remembering when he first got that symbol, and when his father, Nolan, got the symbol first.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Well, for me, I really enjoyed this opener to season 4. I'd give it 4, deep fried sequid rings out of 5. A little wedge of lemon, I think.
Excellent.
Some black pepper over it. Be quite nice. But yeah, I thought this was really just a good opener, nice recap. Good to see the consequences of what's going on. Some intrigue, what's happening to Eve's powers, Conquest, awakening, heading away from Earth, and the introduction of Eterna, but also just having the Sequid battle here. Those that we've seen before, really, interesting, and just how that plays to Mark's frame of mind here.
Yes, absolutely.
Around, he should really be putting these threats to bed, should we say, and how best to do that.
Or at the very least have agreement with somebody else who's also going to put them to bed. Yeah. So at least handing them over to an authority that wants to kill them, not use them as experimental weapons in the future.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
I did also like, as I say, I think my favorite moment in the episode is Mark punching the dinosaur off a human. I thought that was quite fun. So as the smoke clears and it's just a regular human, like the lizard in Spider-Man comics, just appearing going, I have no control over that dinosaur. That was great. But let's hear some feedback from our wonderful fellow Guardians.
Yes, exactly. First up, we have an email from Joe. Hi, fellow Guardians. I just finished the first episode of season 4 of Invincible, and it was the perfect continuation of the huge story set at the season 3 finale. It is really interesting to see Mark dealing with everything that happens, how civilians perceive him, his guilt, and his newfound will to kill anyone that threatens the security of the world. As is watching the rest of the characters react to Mark's struggle, especially the Guardians of the Globe. It is especially funny to see Paul deal with his new stepsons. I wonder what will happen when, if, Nolan returns to Earth and wants to recover his wife. Ooh. So excited for the next episodes. Joe the Buffalo. Thanks so much, Joe, for the feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it is really good seeing how Mark deals with everything. As you say, the guilt. I think this newfound will to kill anyone. I think it's also specifically, it might be the security of the world, but I think as well, it's also very specifically if they threaten his family, and I guess Eve by extension.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Like, you know, he's become the overprotective bunny, I guess.
Well, yeah, and again, if someone puts his family in danger, he's saying you will die. So
yes,
if someone very specifically does that,
uncategorically, absolutely,
which I pretty much guarantee that means somebody's going to put his family in jeopardy. He's going to have to take them out.
I think so.
Yes, and poor Paul in the background, not understanding what's going on with everything else that's going on in the house. He's trying to just have a relationship with Debbie, and it seems like he's not able to move past the fact that there's loads of superheroes in the house and everything else that's going on. He feels like he doesn't want to really interrupt them.
I do like the awkward moment where he's trying to leave the house, and Oliver's like turns to Mark and says, "You've not been around much, have you?" You know, of course he's been staying over and all this kind of stuff. That was really good.
Yeah.
Totally with you there.
But he does want to move in with her.
Yeah, absolutely.
He does want to get a house together. I wonder if that's just a way of the two of them being together, and maybe Mark and Oliver can stay in the house that they're in or something.
Exactly.
Maybe that's it. Great stuff. Thanks, Joe, for your feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
We also got an email in for Coffee and Vodka in this episode. He says, "Greetings, fellow deluged offenders. The more things change, the bloodier they remain. Speaking of, a note to Mark, if you want public opinion to change, try to keep the property damage to a minimum." So much happened within this first episode, but with one underlying message: chaos is going to reign, with or without a Viltrumite presence. An interesting development with Atom Eve. I guess that bringing yourself back from near death has its price. And the interlude with Paul's discomfort concerning the boy's opinions about his relationship with Debbie was a cute refrain within an episode otherwise fraught with trauma. In short, a welcome return of a favourite series. Off to the next one. 5 environmental raptors, squished sequids, and missed marks out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka.
Great stuff, Coffee and Vodka. Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole thing with Paul is actually a nice little kind of accompanying sort of bit of lightness actually to the whole thing, which is really good. And yeah, I think you're probably on the button there around chaos is going to reign. So let it unfold, I say.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the next couple of episodes. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Yeah, thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Over on Discord, Richard Blaze says, "Great to have this back on and in time for me to binge whilst being off work. Currently nursing a few broken ribs after a nasty car crash." Ooh. Well, I hope you get better, Richard, and you're feeling a lot better. That sounds painful.
Really does, yeah.
And I'm glad to hear that you are on the recovery road, Richard.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like it could be a little bit sore with the broken ribs, but here's to a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. For sure. Having just recovering from my fractured ankle, I can imagine what it must be like having to be sitting away from work with broken ribs, trying to recover from them.
Absolutely.
So all the best to you, Richard. Thanks so much for getting the time to send some feedback to us.
Definitely. Richard continues, "This show never ceases to amaze me. Love the Sequids coming back. Wouldn't have minded if it took a few episodes before they were defeated, but that final punch shows that Invincible is true to his word from the end of the last season. Has Atom Eve spent her powers rebuilding herself? I've no idea, but it will add to the drama. Conquest escaped from his prison, you say? Was it only Cecil and Donald who believed it would hold him, whilst the rest of us guessed he'd get out easily enough? Is there a rematch on the cards now? Straight on to episode 2. Thanks, Richard, for the feedback. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting. That's at the moment kind of what I'm thinking around Atom Eve, is that, you know, all that energy to resurrect herself, rebuild herself, as you say, has maybe come at a cost, really, and that she's finding it difficult to provide that building quality by manipulating the atoms.
Sort of feels like, because in the previously on, you see how brutal that was.
Absolutely.
The destruction of Atom Eve before she came back and used her powers. So I think there must be something like that. But I guess we'll see as the episodes go on. Is there going to be a rematch between Conquest and Mark? Like, he just about got away with it this time. If Conquest joins up with anybody else and comes back on Mark, I can't imagine it. It's going to be pretty brutal, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But again, I just feel Mark has changed as well. So, it's changed him, and maybe he'd be a bit more tactical about it. I think, all that. I don't know. Yeah. I suspect there will be a rematch on the cards for sure. Yeah. And I think, like yourself, I can always have more sequids. So a few more episodes would have been really good. So on to episode 2 indeed.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Thanks, Richard.
Absolutely. And the final piece of feedback we have for this episode came in from Patrick Lemke over on Facebook, who says, loving the animation boost for this season. Everyone seems more expressive. I think they got the animation studio for Creature Commandos this season. Well, that's interesting, Patrick. I didn't see anything on that. And it's partly because this is all under the banner of Skybound Animation, the same studio that brought to the comic books. So Skybound is where the comics for Invincible and The Walking Dead are published. So it's under Skybound Animation. They did say there's about 100 animators in the US and about 100 in Korea, and the two of them are led by major team leaders who work together to make sure that everything gets its best. In this case, I know season 3, season 4, and season 5 are all commissioned around the same time, which is allowing them to develop the show, and they have a lot of budget behind it, given the size of Prime Video, and it's a big show for them. They're not in the way that animation normally goes, where you have the first season, they put all the budget into it, and then the second season it's all stripped back. They've made jokes about that in the past, about stripping back the animation to make the bigger events bigger, and you do that on smaller events, so you have people sitting in a room talking to each other because it's cheap to animate that. In this case, no, they really have been boosting it and throwing lots and lots of great animation into the show. But maybe it is the same show as DC's Creature Commandos, the one from James Gunn. Season 1 was out a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think there's also just that incrementally better animation that we're getting every season, similar to Simpsons season 1 versus Simpsons season 30
Absolutely.
at this stage. But yeah, great stuff. Thanks very much for the feedback, Patrick, and thanks to everybody for your feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick, and thanks, everyone, for all your thoughts.
Absolutely. We do want to hear from you throughout the season. We've got 2 more episodes to go for this week, so email us into feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com if you have any thoughts on any of the episodes that you've seen so far, or any of the episodes as they release weekly. We normally record on Thursdays for our podcast on the episodes of Invincible, so try and get your feedback in then, or else we'll just cover it on our next episode. You can join us over in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries to share your thoughts over there, or you can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or pop on over to our Discord, which you'll see in the show notes right here. You can find our Discord there, or of course, pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you'll find all of our podcasts and loads of ways of getting in contact with us as well.
Absolutely. And of course, you can support us through Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. Just search TV Podcast Industries. And of course, you can also support us by sharing the podcast, because sharing the podcast is, of course, sharing the love.
Yes, it is. Yep. We'll be back next time with our second episode of Invincible Season 4, which is called I'll Give You the Grand Tour. Be back later on this week. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.
Yes, thank you so much, fellow Guardians, for joining us. Remember, until next time, I might or I might not be there. It depends whether Chris is able to join us again.
He'll be here.
He will, but Until then, of course, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep being invincible.
Thanks, Joes.
Bye, fellow Guardians.
Bye.